Okay, Parshas Vayeshev. Vayeshev Yaakov better. Okay, Vayeshev Miketz Vayigash have to do with Hanukkah. It's always connected, but I want to do a separate share for Hanukkah. It's too much to cover. Vayeshev Yaakov Beretz Megurei Oviv Beretz Kanon. Yaakov wanted to settle down. He wanted to rest after running in Golus all the time, running away from Esav, putting up with Lavan, then again with Esav, and so on and so forth. So Yaakov wants to. So it's let's put it this way. There is an issue over here. I want to address a little later. I want to skip, but there's Yaakov and Yosef in this parsha. So let's start the parsha and we'll get to it. But Yeshiv Yaakov Beres Mugara Oviv, where in the journeys of his father, where his father lived, so Beres Kanan to Neretz Kanan. Eli told us Yaakov, these are the children of Yaakov, Yosef, Yosef. Where are the other brothers? No other brothers. Ben Shvayse Shonoho Yoro Yosef Batzoin. He was 17 and he would shepherd the flock of his father and his together with his brothers. And then Vayovi Yosef as the boss of Olavim, Yosef brings he badmouths his brothers. He tattletales, he snitches on his brothers. Now, nobody likes if somebody snitches on them. Nobody likes if somebody slanders them. But here you have the next pasuk. V'Yisrael oves Yosef mikol banu kiven zekunim hu lo yivosel eksunis pasim. Yeah, it says doesn't say Yaakov. It says Yisrael. Yisrael oves Yosef more than the other children. Kiven zekunim uloi because he's ben zekunim. What's ben zekunim in a second? V'osel eksunis pasim made him this tunic, beautiful tunic. Okay. Vayiru Echov Kyoisav Avim Kolachov. His brothers realized that. And naturally they hated him. They couldn't talk peacefully with him. They couldn't communicate. Vayachlim Yosef Chaloim. Many times if you do communicate, you find that it's not so bad. But let's say it was bad. Let's say it was bad. Vayachlim Yosef Chaloim. He dreams something and he tells it to his brothers, and they hate him even more. And what does he tell them? Please listen to the the dream that I dreamt. And we have sheaves, and we're binding the sheaves, and your sheaves bow down to my sheaves. Oh, my sheaves stood up, and then your sheaves bow down to mine. What? You're going to dominate us? You're going to control us? You're going to be a Koenig over here, a dictator? So they hated him even more. Al Chalamoisav on his dreams and Val Devorov. What's the Devorov? What's the Chalamoisav and Devorov? Another dream, and here he involves the Shemesh Vayreach, that's his father's mother, and so on. His father gets upset, and his father remembers it. What does it mean, Okay, so let's try to unpack this abyssal, as much as we can over here. The first thing is to start copying what happened over here is you have to go to Rashi. It's a big Rashi, but I want to one thing that I want to bring out. Rashi says, "V'chol ma'she'ira Yaakov ira Yosef." Whatever happened to Yaakov happened to Yosef. Zenistam. He was hated. Yaakov was hated by his brother Esav, and Yosef was hated by his brothers. This one, his brother wants to kill him. This one, his brother wants to kill him too. That means Yaakov and Yosef. Very similar. Rashi has another few. I'm skipping many lines. Now first, I'm going to skip lines and I'll come back to Rashi. I'm going to jump back a drop. And Rashi says, Ben Zekunim, Shenoidad lo le'izeknosik. He was born to him when he was old. Well, all the brothers were born to him when he was old. So Rashi brings another pshat. Vonkel is Tirgim, Bal Chakim Hule. He was a smart boy. What's that he's smart? That means he's smarter. He outsmarted everybody, and therefore, whatever he learned from Shem Vevi, he gave over to him. Dovracha shoya zig, Dovracha shoya ziv, a kunin shaloi doim meloi. That means he had the same identical face as Yaakov. There's something keen. There's something, they are like. They look like each other. If your son, your daughter look like you, there's a special keen there. There's a special love. You say a copy of the father. It touches your emotions, the emotional strings. Of course, why not? Let me jump back to the Bosim Ra. So Rashi says, "Es the Bosim Ra, Kol Ra Shiroi Ba." Okay, so Rashi says in general, Kol Ra Shiroi Be'echav. Bnei Lehi Magid Love. Anything, any derogatory, anything negative, he was able to see. He saw. Later, his father says, "Reish loy machecha." Go look at the positive things. Don't look at every little, all the pettiness and so on. Well, it wasn't such pettiness. It was three cardinal. Let's see what Rashi says. Rashi says, "Hoya magid lov." If he used to tell his father, "Show you oichlin evim and achai," that they ate evim and achai. They took a chunk out of a live animal. That's so torturous. That's pain. It's tzar balachayim. How could you do that? In other words, they belittle, they denigrate the sons of the shvachas, that's Bilah and Zilpah, Don Naphtali, Gad and Asher, Likrois and Avod, they call them servants. You're my servants. I'm the elite, I'm the big shot, and you're the nobody. I'm the chosen, you're the nobody. I'm the blessed, and you're the nebuch, you're what's left over. And the third thing, they're not so clean when it comes to royas, the forbidden relationship. So what does Rashi say from the Medrash? Very powerful. Uvishloshton loka, Yosef was hit by all three. Alevim Menachai, the fact that he accused them of eating, live meat from a live animal. So it says, "V'ishchatu seidism ben v'chirosei." When they sold it, they took a seidism. And why do you have to shecht it? Why do they have to shecht it? They could have just stuck a knife into Ezim, get out the blood that looks similar to human blood, and dip in the shirt into this blood, or dab it on the animal, and it'll get all bloody, and you tell it to your father, and Hakina, see, did you recognize this? Aksonis ben Chimloi? Why? Why do we have to shecht it? The Torah says they don't eat Evim Menachai. The Torah says you were dead wrong. You slandered a whole group of people, the Shiftei Kah, and everybody believes Lashon Hara. Everybody believes. There's nobody that doesn't believe Lashon Hara. You have to be the Tzaddik Hador not to believe Lashon Hara. You have to be so worked out a whole lifetime. You have to be the Chofetz Chaim at his best not to believe Lashon Hara. And they come to Yaakov, besmirch he comes and all his brothers, and you see over here Arai Bruda that he didn't do it. So what kind of fool does he feel like now? Oh, it's pretty stringent. That's a punishment in of itself. He's told, and now he's going to get punished for talking lashon hara, and now it's rechilus because it wasn't even true. But it's a shemra. What? Big time. And Rashi says v'loy achalu chayim. They didn't eat it live. Valdiba. He said you call your brothers avodim, what's it called, slaves. Levinim Yosef. He was sold as a slave. Again, mida connected mida. Valaroyas shasipa aleim. Oh, you accuse them of forbidden relationships. Oh, Hashem gave them the same nisoyin, the same test with Aishas Petifa, the wife of Petifa. So you have over here, I said this many times, those rabbis who go out in the open and besmirch other rabbis, they end up with the same nisyonis. Do your Do your homework, number one, and don't be in the business of besmirching everybody, barabim. All these people don't go out of life clean because it's a nishka chochma everybody can. These people have families, they have children, and then with shidduchim problems, no, and then the Eibishter gives the same nisyon as those who besmirch. One rabbi besmirches another rabbi, so uh, let's continue. I want to come to Bikush Yaakov Elisha B'Shal Rashi later. I want later. So let's go on Abyssal. So Vayeshev Yaakov Beretz Megur Oviv, Yaakov tries to settle, and Hashem is not happy with that. And Rashi let's go on. Eile told us Yaakov Yosef. Rashi, we just learned that Rashi says he teaches him all he learned by Shem and Aver. What's Shem and Aver? How to be a Jew, how to be fine on the mountain, all residents around, all the inhabitants around. In other words, you should be the shining star, not you should be mushpa, influence from others. You should be the mashpia, the one that's influencing everybody else, the light that's lighting everybody up, not seeping and letting seep in the darkness and the low life you know, temporary enjoyment or whatever, or bliss, but the long term, the authentic, the genuine, the soulful light. And when you have that, you have long lasting, nachas, long lasting simcha, long lasting oinig, and so on and so forth. So, same Ve'eva are the people that learn, that taught, our others to. Sometimes you have to lock yourself up in a cave, like the Rambam says. Go away from society and protect your youth, protect your environment. That's why there's borders. That's why there are doors and locks, and that's why on phones there's a red button on that phone. Yes, yes, that red button is, and sometimes you don't have to pick up to block it. If you go to a crowd and they rain you out, don't hang out with that crowd. If you go to a crowd and they have a terrible influence on you, you go to a wedding and there's some bums, right? Never the fact that they're shaking away there like in a jungle, a primitive jungle with this boom 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 music like in a primitive jungle is awful. But for them, this is Yiddishkeit, and that brought, you know, I was by a wedding very recently, and I go to the hall, and the guy's smoking up. People are walking here. Not everybody has to inhale your garbage. Carbon dioxide ain't that, but you just there's no oxygen that you. It's horrible. I'm not a tree. What do you on everybody? So I thought this, his mother didn't teach him. Then I get much closer to the hole, literally right in front of the door. There's two, three guys smoking like across the thing, and I have to walk through this cloud. I'm thinking, they're not mentioned. I mean, I thought that guy was bad. It turns out that's the tzaddik over here. Okay. So I accused him in my mind that never the mother didn't teach them, or maybe the mother taught them, was a bracha levatol, a waste of time. Say Baruch Hashem that you don't have that necessarily. Then I walk into the hall, I find a bunch of guys smoking in the hall. Punished. I'm not talking about the law, but many people that don't want, if they don't smoke or they stop smoking, they need to inhale your garbage, your exhale. On the other hand, right now the three guys smoking right in front of the entrance, they became tzaddikim because this guy inside has totally disregard to anybody there. But then when I saw this guy, I saw other guys. I said, that guy doesn't even know if he's a man or not. He's the wrong side of the machitza. I mean, I said, what? This guy's a tzaddik. This guy's a tzaddik. All he's doing is smoking, but compared to other nebuch. Now, the question is, my problem is not that I'm dealing with Kirov for over 30 years. I never judge somebody his religiosity. No, is Zayamensh, but that's his thing. But what bothers me is the good guys that don't have the Nisayan and look at the guys that have the Nisayan and want to be like them. Like Rebbeinu Shalom. He has a beautiful car. Who doesn't want a beautiful car? The Gemara says, Bayis no ish no kelim no, and beautiful dishes, a beautiful wife, a beautiful house. Machiv is daita shlodem. Yes, there's expanse, it feels very good. But the question is, for what price? Everything is a trade-off. What's the trade-off here? What do you have to pay for this fancy car? I mean, take this guy. If you have to be locked up in jail, would you want to be locked up with this guy in the fancy car? Most of the times not. Strip away his fancy car with his fancy designer clothes and his fancy house and business and so on, and see, is there something to talk? Many of them, yeah. Many of them have great energy, great vibes. Many of the bums have great vibes. It's geschmack to hang out with them. That's why they attract so many people. I'm not criticizing that. If you have good vibes, good vibes. That's a blessing min hashamayim. And if you have those good vibes and you can influence people for the good, what a waste of time. But my question is, most of these people that run to the gym and they become big sportsmen. I'm not talking about for health. They're not doing it for health. I'm talking about those doing for health. That's mamish gewaldig. I'm talking those people trying to impress because otherwise they didn't impress anybody. And they're trying to okay, this master degree and PhD and diploma in this and that. And as a ganze chuchum in this area or that area, he's the maven, he's the mumcha. Strip that away. Would anybody want to hang out with you? Would anybody want to sit in a room 2 by 2 with you? And if yes, very good. But many times that's not the case. That's only a cover up. And you want to be like that? It hurts. You know, we don't hop. The guy's in a wheelchair and he's running around with an electric scooter because he can't walk, and you're jealous of him. Again, in other words, if you can give me the electric, the car, and the house, and everything, and you can give me everything I want, priority in life, with that, but if I have to give away my whole life and my children and the chinuch and the nachas and everything, so in order that I should be able to run around and shower everybody with money and impress everybody, is it worth it? I mean, if you can think for 1 second logically, logically, does it add up? It doesn't add up. So I'm not saying that, but if that's the trade of Michael Tovish, no, thank you, no, thank you. Okay, so Yaakov can give over. You know what he gives over. What does he give over? He gives over Yiddishkeit. Now, what is he giving Yosef that he's not giving his brothers? Hoshep Shad is giving Yosef the way how to deal with the nations of the world, the way how to deal with the bums, the way how to deal with the wider world, the way how to make a Kiddush Hashem in a much greater scale and scheme. The way to influence not this little circle, mich and zich, me and you, to influence the wider Hashem's children that are a little further away. Then it's that's what Yosef was made for. And Yaakov learned that from Shem and Ever before he went to Lavan. And Yaakov, he went to Yeshiva Shel Ever, and he went and he took that Ever got from Shem, and he took that and he gave it over to Yosef, because Yosef is bound to go to Golus. He's bound to become a king and influence the whole world as we know it. So Yaakov teaches Yosef, and it says that he's 17. Why was it important that he's 17 years old? I'll get to that in a second. And Vuna is Bnei Bila. He hung out with Bnei Bila and Zilpah. Why? Because that we just read the Rashi before, that they said that the belittling, he's trying to be mechazik them. He's trying to hang out with the downtrodden. Elakim Yivakish Nirdaf. You want to be with the Nirdaf, the people who are pursued and bullied. So you want to go with the victims, and he was with the victims. Now, the fact that they turned their backs on him, that was so low. They turned their backs on him. I protected you guys, and you went with the bullies against me, and that was such a betrayal. But let's not go into that now. So his brothers see that he has a dream. Why is he telling him the dream? If you see your brothers hate you, why would you tell them the dream? And then you tell them another dream? what's going on and what's Pashup Shat? Pashup Shat. Okay, so let's try to work this out a little. Vikesh Yaakov Leisha B'Shalva. Sort of the shir is sort of starting. This was like a background, but I want to now we're starting the shir. Bikash Yaakov Leisha B'Shalva, says Rashi. Kovtzolov Rugza Shel Yosef. He wants to sit in peace. He wants to settle down for once. He ran around. He's always for Yenim. He was a bachelor, and he's taking care of everybody. He's taking care of Eliphaz. He's taking care of everybody. Now he has to. When can I settle down myself? And he goes to get married, and he has to run away from Esav, and 14 years in Yeshiva Shem Ve'aver, if he's hiding or preparing, whatever it is, 7 years for Leah, for Rachel, and for Leah, and okay, he comes there another 7 years for Rachel and Leah. That's 14 in Shem Ve'aver, 14 in there. Then 6 Moses got he's got to. He has to be independent. That's the simcha. What's the simcha of a wedding if not being independent? If the Alkin Yazav Ish is over the Simiv Dovg Vishabayul Vas Echad, you have to cling to your wife, become independent. That's the simcha. So a kid that's an invalid, a handicap, can't walk, and you teach the kid how to walk in Gvaldig Simcha. You find certain glasses that the person or the child is not colorblind anymore. That's a simcha. You find a certain earpiece, and now they can hear for the first time in their lives. You saw the simcha in their eyes. So it's a simcha if you can become independent. You don't need hearing aids. I mean, to feel that, because for a blind person and special sign language, no, you can hear people, you can hear colors, and you hear tunes and everything. It's a mordika simcha. So Yaakov Avinu works 6 years. And then he gets punished, not for the 14 years of Shem Vever, but he gets punished for the 22 years, and then he's going to miss Yosef. He's going to think he's dead for 22 years. Why is he getting punished? He's not getting punished for Kibbadav. His father told him to marry. And he tried to marry after 7 years, right? And he had to go to Shem Vever to prepare himself. That's on Hashem. It's no problem. And he has to prepare. He has to prepare. He has to work 7 years for Rachel. That's on his father. He has to work again for Rachel 7 years because it turns out he worked for Leah. It's again on his father. Fine. Now 6 years, his father would want him to be independent. That's kibbutz. If you can become independent and help out your parents, that's the best kibbutz. If you can bring nachas to your parents, best kibbutz. If you can not bring problems and bullshit to your parents, best kibbutz. Kibbutz, same thing. But later you have another 2 years. It took you another additional, that's 34 years, 14 and 14 and 6, 34 years. But really, so you have 14 and 14 is 28 plus another 6 years, 34. But it took him another 2 years to get home, almost 2 years, 1.5 years, whatever it is. For those years, you didn't rush home when you were able to. Okay, I wasn't able to. Chazal believed that he was able to. And if he didn't rush home, fast enough, so he stopped petrol all the time when he missed Yosef, measure for measure. So what happened to what he did to his father, sort of Yosef is doing to him, although he did it unintentionally and Yosef did it unintentionally. Now, Yaakov wants to sit in Shalva. How could you sit in Shalva? Let's work this out for a second. You have Hashem builds a palace, a world, a Bira. And then it's being destroyed generation after generation after generation. And it's getting blown up, and then it's getting burnt down, and then it's getting electrified, and then Sevet Ois, and it just collapses. And Hashem is keeping on building again and again the Bira, this beautiful world. And after a while, Hashem says, I'm tired. I'm tired of this is a failure. I'm done with them. I'm done with them. I'm not giving them this whole lifespan. I'm not going to give them 1,000 years of a lifespan. I'm not going to give them all these growth and all. It's a mabul. He's doing a mabul. And he takes a mikveh and toivel the whole world in a mikveh, so to speak, 40 days, and he cleanses. Okay, and he leaves Noach and his family, and again tries again the Dora flog. And then Sidoim and Vaitim Mitzrayim. Okay, we spoke about this. Comes Avram Avinu, and Avram Avinu says, "Ribono shel olam, there's got to be one boss, the boss of all bosses, the source of all sources. There's such harmony here. There's such symmetry here. There's such perfection. There's such brilliance. How could it be this? It's not organized in a fashion. How could it be? It's not designed. How could it be a design without designer? It can't be. It just doesn't make sense. It's not common sense. So Avram started to believe there's got to be Baal Zu to this palace, to this beautiful world. And Avram Avinu asked one question: "You're so brilliant. I see your creation. Now, if you create smart things, that means you're smart. If you create intelligent things, that means you're intelligent. If you create brilliance, that means you're brilliant. And how could a brilliant God let this world get blown up into smithereens, mamish, garnished? And you let every Joe and Bo, what do you let them? Until he came to he came to this hacker no. Hikr is boiroi. And what did he understand? What didn't Noach understand? What did Avram understand that Noach didn't understand? That other nation? He realized Hashem is not doing it. No, he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for us. He wants to train us in, and the only way to train, not to tell. You can tell somebody a million times they won't. They still don't know how to do it until you train their muscles. Your kid can't sit by the table for long. Let him sit for a second and then 2 seconds. Build up his muscles gradually. Not every kid. Sometimes they're so hyper. It's a brachal of Atollah. You have to find a different program, whatever it is. But for the vast majority, train them by practicing. Yes, practice makes perfect. And slowly, whatever it is they want to train them, teach them one word a day, teach them a syllable a day, a vowel a day, something. Build up, build up, build. It's about it should become second nature. It should become habitual, and that's the way we human beings work. So you build it up slowly. Avram Avinu understood that Hashem wants us to become independent. In what way? He gives us a problem, and he gives us the brains and the wherewithal to figure it out. That's what he wants. And this guy gets the problem, he solves it, and he brings a support system for that, and then he teaches you how to prevent it and so on. It's a whole chadgadi, it's a whole geschichte. So Avram Avinu says, so you mean to say you expect me to fix your world and to prevent other people from destroying it? Yeah, now I thought. So I'm going to put a fire hazard here, and I'm going to put electric box there because I don't want it to blow out the place. And I'm going to put guards not to let the hooligans go in and rip down the place. So Avram Avinu understood that. And Yitzchak was to continue that. Comes Yaakov and he says, Bikish, and Yaakov and Rashi says, Bikish, Yaakov Leshiv B'Shalva. What? You know what happens when you take away animals? Hashem says, when the Canaanites, I'm going to keep Canaan there. Why? Because if they leave the chayes, the animals are going to take away. And when you take away territory from animal, between one animal, they'll kill each other, each animal for the territory. That's an animalistic, that's an instinct. And you want to take, no, I'm going to keep the inhabitants there. So when they leave, you come in, and you don't have to fight all the sides for a lifetime. They say elephants have great memory. You can come years later; they'll take in the coma if you started up with them. Well, you need that. So Hashem says, you want to do away with your mission, with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Yaakov, you want to go on vacation or you want to go on pension? Kofta, if you stop one you stuff one mouse or rat or whatever or snake or scorpion with all these bugs and worms, you do away with one, you're going to get something much worse. If you bikish l'shalva, you want to go on pension, right away you're going to have tzodas and worse tzodas. So a yid never gives up, and a yid never goes on pension. So when if you went on pension panasa wise, so now you go to shurim or whatever you do, which elchid? You ever saw Elachid when they leave the workforce? They go right away to shul and they go to this chair and that chair. And today you can listen audios and videos. It's a gewaltige Sache. I know a person, a relative of mine, his shver worked all his life and he went on pension. He's learning for 10 years. My relative told me he became a great Talmud Chacham. He learns from morning to evening. Baruch Hashem, he has the koyach. Baruch Hashem, he doesn't fall asleep every second word. But the point is that it's incumbent upon us. You never go on vacation. If the vacation is in order to strengthen the zman, so you go on vacation bein zman, so that's like sleeping. That's part of the avodah. That's part of the serving Hashem. I'm not talking about that fact. I'm talking about if a person says, I'm going to cut the mission short. Wow. You have that stick. I forgot istafet. I forgot what it's called. That you run around. In the races, in the marathon, you run around one, and then you give it over to the next guy. What happens if a guy takes the fourth guy? 100,000 people from his country or his city came, and they're vouching this people go 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 go, and the fourth guy grabs it, and he can practically hop his way around because the guy before him was so ahead. The first three guys were so ahead that he can for sure win easy, but by skipping, he doesn't even have to run. And he just walks off. He says, I need it for my closet, to my drawer. You out of your mind. So many doidas are waiting. Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov says, Bikish Yaakov Lesha B'Shalva. Of course, comes Rugza Shalias. What is Rugza Shalias? We have to get to it. But the point is, you can't back out right now. Everything is on the line. We're talking about the Bria Soilam. You're going to let them burn down the house? We protected it, and you're going to walk away. So what's the cheshbon of Yaakov? Yaakov says there's a big shaila. Does quantity, let's say, does quality time equal to quantity time? If you're going to give him 5 or half hour, whatever it is, of quality time, him or her, is it equal to a day, a week, a month? And Yaakov Tainid, Yaakov says, here, there's 2 reasons why we go out of Mitzrayim early. One reason we consider it from the time of Yitzchak. That means from Hashem, not Avram's times, because Hashem tells Avram, your children will endure pain. They will they'll endure pain for 400 years. Who's the children of Avram? Started from Yitzchak, the children of Avram. So you have Yitzchak, Yaakov, and then all the daughters till Yitzis Mitzrayim. And if Yaakov is going to back off, how could he back off? How could he go on vacation now? How could Shalva now? There's no Shalva. There's no tranquility, no peacefulness right now. We got to move on. So Yaakov says, no, but Yechap over here. I hold the other sheet. What's the other sheet? That quality does, add up to quantity. In other words, if I work 2 shifts, every day 2 shifts, or if I work twice, I produce twice as much, then I can go away after 210 years. So Yaakov says, I can go into 210 years. You don't need 400 years, and therefore I can go on vacation. So says Chazal, why? Because it says Yosef is 17 years old. What do I have to know how old he is? You didn't tell me how old his brothers are. He's 17 years old. So he's not Bar Oynish. The Gemara says, only when you're 20 you're Bar Oynish from Shemayim. He can't be punished. So why is he thrown away like to the dogs? Why is he thrown away to slavery? Why is he almost killed? Let's say he spoke, ill on his brothers, but you don't get an einish until you're 20. So why is it? So says the Targum. That's what Rashi has on Bar Hakim. He's a Bar Hakim. He's smarter. So he's got quality. You remember? Who was with the Brisker of? I forgot who it was. That they asked him, how do you sleep 2 hours a night? He says, they say, I chap, my studies and everything, I chap what takes somebody 8 hours, I chap in 2 hours. What takes somebody to repeat and to put into the memory and to rejuvenate 8 hours, I do it in 2 hours. It's my best in a cup, if you know what I mean. Okay, it's of course said in humorous, but the point is that if Yosef by 17 is a Bar Chakim, so Yaakov is saying, if Yaakov is saying that the 20 years is Lav Dafka 20 years, so now he can get Einish. And you want your son to get Einish? What are you doing, Yaakov? Okay. So Yosef, Vayov Yosef as the boss of Avim, and he badmouths his brothers. Now, Yosef Ketaina, what do you mean I'm badmouthing? There's two ways I would go about things. Keep quiet and badmouth him behind his back. Yosef didn't do that. You come into a store or shul or whatever it is, and you don't like the service, a school, business, you don't like the service. What you can do is walk away, go to Google, and give them a terrible rating. And bashmutz them in shul or on audio, go to interview and bashmutz the guy. And say it's mitzvah mamash. Why don't you confront the person? Give them a chance to answer. Maybe they're okay, let's say they're wrong, but at least you gave them a chance. Maybe they can do tshuva. Maybe you don't have to embarrass them. Maybe they'll make amends and they'll pay back whoever they stole from, whoever they swindled out. Maybe. So Yosef confronts them, but who's Yosef? You're a second class. We're the big bull. I mean, we're the big layest children. You just came around. You never made it. You're the wannabe. You want to be the Bechor, and we don't consider you Bechor. We don't consider you, not your mother. By us, for all we know, you're nothing. So Yosef wants to fix the situation. They're bullying the younger brothers. So what does Yosef do? Yosef goes to the parent and tells their parent, Yaakov, and he says, these guys are haughty, they're arrogant, they halten sich besser von allem. They look down at the brothers Bnei Ashfoches, they belittle them, they call them, servants, and they call them slaves, and how could you to people? How could you disrespect people? How could you belittle people? It's a pain that you take along for generations. You pass it down to generations. So what's the word? So you go to Yosef and you say, "Dibosim Ra, what are you doing?" Rashi says he was punished. Mida keneged mida, as we said before. So the shaila is Yosef Ketain. I'm saying it literal as if I'm saying it for the benefit of them and the benefit of the victims, if I'm allowed to do it, I'm allowed to go tell somebody the guy is trying to swindle you out. Don't buy it by him. He's a ganav. It's not going to work. It's chamamish. It's counterfeit. It's refurbished and it doesn't work. He covers it up in 2 days and the guarantee does no guarantee. You call up the number. It's not a real number. You're supposed to tell them. You'll be a ganav if you didn't. You have to tell them. So if it's Latelis, you have to speak up. So Yosef could say it's Latelis. So what's the rule about Telis? It could only be Telis if you are clean in that matter. That very thing that you're accusing somebody else, you have to be clean. And Yosef comes with a chaloim. And Yosef says in the cholim, what does he say in the cholim? He says, you guys are going to bow down to me. Oh, you're going to bow down to me? So than we are. So if we say that the Bnei Shvach should bow down to us, you're saying that all of you bow down to me. And the second Cholim, the Tatamam also. The first Cholim, they hate him. The second, because they hate him because he's trying to say that you think you're great. He's telling them you're nobody. And you'll see. I had a dream. The second Cholim, but the Tatamam also. Now they're Mekana. Before they just hated, now they're Mekana. Now they're jealous. Now there's envy. Because it doesn't make sense. Yosef was very respectful to his father. His father taught Yosef more than others. So you see, it says, Ki el b'ni ovel shoila. Why doesn't it say like by Binyamin Yogin shoila? Why ovel shoila? And the Chazal teach one thing they teach oval is Aleph Beis Lamed. That's 33. He's going 33. He's going to live 33 years less. That's not for this parsha as much as. But the oval is like he's an oval. Oval there's not a lot to learn because Torah is sameach the person, right? We say in Kapitel Yutes. So what's it called? If you're not allowed to learn. He's going like oval. Why is he going like oval? Reingebochet. I knocked in, I invested so my whole life to teach Yosef. And Yosef, and then he's gone. So who's going to give over that Torah that I taught Yosef? I didn't invest like that in other sons. I invested it all in Yosef that he should give it over, and he's not around to give it over. It's Avil Shoila. The Torah is there's no Torah going on by Avil, and just there's no Torah going on because Yosef is gone. So I did it for Nord. I it's like I picked the wrong horse. I bet yeah, I bid it on the wrong horse. It's very painful. So now, what's the machlokes of there? Yosef says you need a leader, and I can be a leader. Why can I be a leader? Yosef says you guys don't know what problems are. You don't know what life is. You're still young. I'm young. I'm younger than you, but I went through life. Gave me such nisyonis. He became a Yosef. He had a stepmother. He had Bilhah as a stepmother, and then he had to take care of his younger brother. But it was such a, and then he finds out that his mother died for the reason that because his own very own father cursed her, and that's why she died. That means his father killed his wife. It's marvel. How could you even live with that? And he says, I went through so much. I'm a yes. I'm homeless. I know what it is. I grew up very quickly. I became mature very quickly. I can be a leader because I know all the problems because I lived through all the problems. And Yosef is telling, let me be the leader. You'll have it easier. Let's get together. Why do we have to belittle each other and fight? Not that I want to be greater than you, better than you, but I have more experience than you, and I went through more, so I can be the true Balfili Ram because I felt what it is. Person that went through hardship, so he can daven because I don't care what nusuk you have. Every year, according to the pain that he endured that year, that's the correction you're gonna get. And you'll hear that in the davening, you'll hear that in the melody, you hear that in the connection and the tenuas. And therefore Yosef says, I can be the leader, let me be the leader. But they didn't want to have it, why not? So here I want to come to a thing that I don't know if the story is true, I heard it many years ago. Now I don't want anybody throwing me out of anywhere, but I feel I have to say it. I shared it with my family many times, many years. I shared it with students without them knowing the name. If somebody says the story is not true, so skip the names, just the gist of it. I just want to bring out the point. The Frankfurter, the stolen Rebbe, Rabbi Yisrael Perlov. So you have the first stolen Rebbe is Aaron, his son Osher. There's Reb Shlomo in between. He's not part of the family. I'm skipping him for now. So you have Aaron, Osher. Now Osher is a Yosem, so naturally his son is going to be named after his father. So another Aaron, and Aaron names after Osher. So you have Aaron, Osher, Aaron, Osher. That takes care of 4 generations, right? And then another 3 generations. This Osher has Yisrael. Yisrael has Yochanan. Yochanan has the stolen Rebbe of today, and so on. Himself from the Why am I saying that? This Rabbi Yochanan had 10 children in the family. I mean, 10 siblings altogether. He was one of 10. Six boys and 4 girls. When they were Machter, the nice brother, everybody liked. He was the loving brother, Rabbi Avram Elimelech. I don't know, second to the youngest of the 6 sons. I can't remember now. You have to, the other saying they know better. But he was beloved and everything. So that he's going to take over his father. And it was understood, sort of, that if he's being mufter, he's being crowned. So everybody else, whatever. So he's taking over, and there's nothing else. There's one Frankfurt, now there's one Ram Elimelech. So they had everybody sign, the older brothers, they were much older, some of them by 10 years older. And then they came to the youngest one, Rabbi Yochanan. And they gave him a pen like nobody's asking you, nobody needs your agreement, nobody needs your signature. They want to be nice. They want to be nice. So they go to the younger brother, the Ben Zakunim, and they go and they sign. And they say, here's a pen, just sign over here, here's the dotted line, whatever. And he says, what am I signing? Just sign. Well, I'll tell you a different. Now we're rushing. We want to do this event. And he says, I have to know what I'm signing. Okay. Okay, so Torah. Just read it. You'll see. He looks at the document. And he takes the pen and he puts it down and he says, listen, was the Tatat Gemein. That's not what our father meant. One should become a rabbi and the rest should be shusters. Nothing wrong with a shuster. Nothing wrong with a shoemaker. The expression is the brothers said, what? Esav and Yaakov, Yishmael and Yitzchak. So Yishmael is doomed, but he's out. So we have Yitzchak. He's the Jew, Yishmael is not. Who's the Irish? Yitzchak. Yishmael is nothing. Yaakov and Esav. Yaakov is the Jew, Esav not. He's doomed. Hey, Yaakov is the Irish. He inherits. He inherited. He inherits the Yerusha of Avram, the Moirash of Avram and Yitzchak, and with the finance also. Esav, nothing. The brothers say, what? Yaakov is investing everything in Yosef, and the rest are shusters, and the rest won't be Jewish, and the rest won't amount to anything. We have no mission. No, everybody doesn't have their own mission after all. There's a private mission, there's a personal mission, and then there's the collective mission. My personal mission, as a collective, you can be the leader, but I can't be like Esav and Yishmael. And you want to count me out of the Jewish nation? Oh, that's chayiv misa, big time. You're tampering with my neshama nitzchias. No. We're going to knock him out, chas v'shalom. We're going to do away with him. You want me to be the sort of Eved? No, send you to Avdus. There's a major core issue over here. Yosef never meant it that way. He meant it that you're not going to bow down as a slave. You're just going to, a central power. You're going to have a rabbi, a leader, because everybody's pulling the string clearly in every direction. Shimon and Levi, especially Shimon, out of control. We have to, I'm not talking about organized religion. Everybody can express itself, freedom of expression, but it's got to be a framework. It's got to be a certain hierarchy, that they have to account to. And then there's a Nasi, and then there's a Av Bezdin. Again, not too much power. There's a husband and wife, again, separating the power, a balance. But they didn't get that. They thought, oh, we're being doomed forever. So they Mamash L'Shem Shemayim. So you have Yosef. Yosef is not clean. In their eyes, you're just like us, but even worse. You're haughty. You want me to bow to you, and you're saying that we look down at the Bnei Ashvachis, the children of the maidservants of Bilah and Zilpah. You look even worse down. So, in that sense, if you go to the next Aveda, he accused him of arayos. So, but Yosef tells Eishes Petifa, the wife of Petifa, how can I do it? Right? He says, where's this pasuk? So he gives a whole drasha, but first Vayimoim, and he refused, and he tells him, Hein lo yaditi ma okay, Hein adoinu lo yaditi ma baboyis, v'chol asher lo nosum biyadi. In other words, my master trusts me, the boss, your husband trusts me. And then the Godel Babayis says, there's nobody greater than me here. In other words, I'm the one that's most trusted and the most. In other words, I'm the, sort of the leader over here in the house, and he totally trusts my leadership. The only thing is off grounds is you because you're his wife. Oh, one second. Nachamal. How will I do future tense? In the future? Is this great evil? No, it should be and it should say in the future tense. I can't transgress. I can't betray my husband's trust him that he has that he trusts me. So what's two things? B'chatosi, because if you accuse your brothers of arayas of forbidden relationships, that they're not so stringent, and you're doing the same thing. So the whole thing is now you did so that was lashon hara, moitzi shemer lechilas. Oh, it's not a ma'isa. It's gonna, hindsight. It's gonna be that you blew it because you're not better. They had an assignment, they fell through, you fell through. So how could you judge them? So why v'chatasi l'likim? Because chatasi l'likim for those avedas, not for this aveda, but chatasi l'likim for that aveda. You spoke l'te'eles. You said it's te'eles. That was the answer why you did it. It turns out it's not te'eles. Because te'eles only works that if you are clean and pure, so people can learn from you as an example, so you can influence others. You can't influence others if you're doing the same. So I just want to I have to go back a little. So that's the al chlamois of al devorov. That's the whole shakla target that's going on. Okay, now like, so much to cover. They hate him now, and they're jealous also. One hating him stamazoi because Haltzach aggressive than them, and he's putting it in their face, so to speak. But what they jealous about that the father believes it. Vaviv shoma sadavar. So now the fact that the father believes, what means shomar? Shomar means he's safe keeping it in his mind. He's keeping it in his mind for a different time here. But Shomar also is Shomar is though we said last week Vayishmar Mishmarti. I don't know if I said it on the shir, but Vayishmar Mishmarti Chugasai. That means if you yearn to do a mitzvah and you want to do it so badly, but it's not in your capability. If you're not a kohen, not a levi, whatever it is, a man, a wife, a man, you don't have that mitzvah, but you yearn. So if you yearn, it's as if you kept the mitzvah. So Yaakov last Pasha says, Parig mitzvah shamarti. What means shamarti? I yearned for it. I wanted it so badly. In this sense, borrowing from this week's parsha, with shamar, Oviv Shoma Sadovar, he really couldn't wait till it happens. So his father really wanted it to happen. Now his brothers are totally, irrationally in hatred and mamas sabred. So his father sends and he tells him, like we said before, they went to Shechem. That Shechem, he won Shechem. He fought for Shechem, and he won. That belongs to Yaakov. Even before Hashem gives him the country, he has Shechem. Avram bought Hebron, Yaakov Shechem, and everything else. Okay, Vayimtzeu. So he says, Lech no, right? Lech no re'ei. Where is this? Lech no re'ei. Please go. Re'ei shloimachech. Go seek the peace of your brothers. And the peace of, in other words, how's it going on? Mashlomcha in Hebrew say like what's doing, right? So that's Pashup Pshat, but we're going to see right now a little deeper. Veshloi and the peace of the tzayin. Vashiveni dover, and answer me a dover. What means Vashiveni? What's dover? So what is it alluding to? It alludes to the lechno the eshloi is the peace between your brothers. Are you still in a quarrel? Are you still fighting? The shleimat are you still? That's the first. So in other words, the first accusation he said that they're belittling their brothers and calling them slaves, nobodies, right? And the second is they're eating evim and they're torturing animals, but they have no regard, total disregard for Hashem's creation, for His animals, for pain. They experience pain. Why would you rip off a live a limb or whatever it is, right? Veshloim atzayin is their peace by the tzayin, right? By the animals. Vashiveni dover, answer me about this dover, right? It says in what does it say by a get? It says he wants to divorce. So kim sabo ervas dover. So you see when it says dover, it's about erva. So Yaakov is telling, go find out if you fix this or there's still a problem, and make amends. And Yosef goes and they want to kill him, and Vaisnaklo Islamisa invite him. And so let's kill him and throw him in one of the pits, and we'll say Chayro Chalasu, a wild animal ate him up, and we'll see what happens to his chaloimus. So Vayishmaru Mayitzlei Miyadam, Ruvain hears and he wants to save them. What happened over here? Rashi brings down that this is Ruach HaKodesh says that no, this is real, this is genuine. Why? What's the raya? So again, Vayishma Reuven hears their plot. Vayetzlei miyodam, he saves them from their hands. Vayomen, he says, Loina kenu nofesh, let's not kill him, bekitza. Right? In other words, it's not so much not to kill him, he wouldn't persuade them, but he's saying, Loina kenu nofesh. Why do we have to do the dirty work? Why do we have to get our hands sort of with blood? Why do we have to have personal if we can do the same thing like indirectly, throw them into the pit, and then it's groma, maximum it's groma. I know there's the Choshim Akram, there's snakes and scorpions. Push him in a pit and let him think about his life. If he still wants to be a boss, and whatever happens, happens. But again, we didn't do it personally. We didn't do it directly. That's what Reuven says. Reuven, and Reuven says, Al tishpelu dom, please don't spill blood. Send them to the pit, this pit, in the wilderness, in the desert. Please don't get your hands soiled with blood and so on. He's doing that, says the Torah. Torah testifies that he's doing that to save his brother from their hands, to return him to his father. Now, where was Reuven? He left and then he went to serve his father. Another pshat, he was doing tshuva. There's no time for that. But the point over here is that Chazal praise Reuven. So I want to bring out 2 points of here. First of all, where's the Ruach HaKodesh here? What's the proof that it's Ruach HaKodesh? Rashi clearly says that, this Ruach HaKodesh, in other words, Ruach HaKodesh testifies that he genuinely said this in order to save his brother. Why would you say that it's not genuine? If a guy says save the guy and don't kill him, what do you need Ruach HaKodesh for? No, you need Ruach HaKodesh because halacha is if everybody in the Sanhedrin accuses the person, he goes free. There's not one person in the whole Sanhedrin that can stick up for the guy. There's not one person that's going to look positive and try to find something. And if that's the case, so he's lost even before it started. And if it's a lost case before Hashem says no, there's no verdict. In other words, if the whole Sanhedrin of 70, let's say 71, the whole Sanhedrin with the Av Beis, everybody said that he's chayiv. In other words, chayiv mis, he has to get the death penalty. He goes out free, total free, scot free, no golas, no ir miklat, nothing. No refugee. He goes out. Why? If there's nobody. So what does Reuven do? Reuven comes to the situation. Vayishmaru, what does he hear? He hears that everybody accused him. If everybody accused him, then you can't kill him because that's the halacha. So comes Reuven and he says, 1 second, why would you want to kill him? Don't kill him. Now, if somebody's ma'arer, if somebody refutes, in other words, he comes with his opinion and he says that you shouldn't kill him, now you can kill him because it's not, you don't have everybody. You have Roiv against the Miyat. And Roiv against Miyat is Machriya, right? So that's number one. But why do Chazal praise Reuven? What did he do? He said, throw him into the pit. So what's with the pit? So the Torah says, Vaboy reik ein boy moyim. So he could have said, Vaboy kreik, it's empty. What means ein boy moyim? That means it's only reik from ein boy moyim. But it's not reik from other things, right? So vaboy reik only from ein boy moyim. It's not reik. It's not empty from other things. That means the choshim akrab they are there because if you wouldn't know for sure, the Torah would say pashat vaboy ein boy moyim or whatever or vaboy reik. But if it says vaboy reik ein boy moyim, that means you have to extrapolate from this miyat. That it's only reik from moyim, but only from the ein boy moyim factor, not the factor. So you have a choshim akrab. So what's the cheshbon? The cheshbon is Reuven says If he's mechuyev misa, so nature is going to kill him. But if he's not mechuyev misa, nature doesn't have a choice in life. They have instincts. So if he's mechuyev misa, he'll get misa. But if he's takat tzaddik, he won't get. If he said lashon hara l'te'elis and he badmouthed them l'te'elis, and he really meant not to control them and dominate them, and not to become a dictator, so Hashem won't hurt him. He won't touch like Chanina ben Doisa. But if he's Takamechuyev, he'll get death. But what do we have to get out? Okay. So Yud buys into that, and Yud says, "Ma'betze kenareg zechina v'chesina zdomo," and lechuvin v'kenen lishmeilim. What are we going to gain on the deal? The word "betz" over here doesn't mean money. It means what gain will we have if we're going to kill him? You want to rather send him to Yishmaelim. In other words, he'll be an evet, and everybody will know if you want to put yourself king upon us. So you sort of us as avodim, you'll become them. So the kasha is, why does Chazal praise Reuven? Reuven says what? Reuven says, throw him into the pit of Nechoshim HaKrabim. What does Yehuda say? Don't even throw him into the pit of Nechoshim HaKrabim. In other words, take him out and we'll settle him as an Eved. So why is Yehuda not praised and Reuven is praised? And the teretz is a lot more. We gave up our lives and we commit ourselves 3 times a day. In the morning, Shema Yisrael, in the evening, Shema Yisrael b'mayrav, and again by Kriya Shema Alamita before going to sleep. The last thing we do, we take our hands and our eyes. We don't have to understand. We just know one thing. You commit yourself, a pledge of allegiance, of loyalty and dedication to Hashem, even if you have to give up. Hashem doesn't want you to give up your life. He says, besides the 3 cardinal Avedas. But the point is, Hashem wants you to live Al Kiddush Hashem with dedication and loyalty. That's the key word, dedication and loyalty. To build anything, you need loyalty. So Hashem says, Shema Yisrael, we do 3 times a day. At least the minimum is, according to the Torah, when you go to sleep, when you wake up, it's twice a day. But you commit yourself to Hashem and 1,000% loyalty, without questioning, without anything. So Yehuda, he saved Yosef, let's say for the time being, physically, but he would be an Eved Mitzrayim with the Shtufi Zima, with the lowliness over there. And he would fall away, not only this world, but the next world also. And Reuven wanted to do away with him, let's say, with a question. But if he dies, he only dies here, and then he lives on forever, and he comes and he lives through his generations, and hopefully, the next generation, Gilgal, whatever it is. But Reuven is praised because he wanted to save his soul, a lot more important than sending not to send it to Mitzrayim. Ma yasa ben v'lo, says the Gemara. Could you send a young kid, 70 years old, to Mitzrayim? And especially as everybody abandoned him, everybody threw him away. His father didn't protect him. No, Hashem it looks like it didn't protect him, and it's extremely, extremely painful. So how did Yosef Bechlal? That's the big kasha that I want to end off the share with. How did he survive L'maisa? You take a kid, a 17-year-old, you throw him away from home. The brothers want to kill him. They send him to slavery. And people abuse him and compass fees. The Medrash, those that know the Medrash, the Sarat Abochim, the Potifar, he was Yena Soicher. He was Yena Soicher. Yosef had to watch his back from him every God-given day, and so does through every second. So what's it in gehalten? So they say the most yukne shalaviv. If the most yukne shalaviv comes, who's going to do avera? What's the chach? But that's not. It doesn't mean the father came. He looked in the window and he saw his father. His father didn't know. How could he show up if he doesn't know? The most yukne means that's related to Chanukah, but I have to just say this little thing. I have to put it. It means Hashem was choinin me this Rosh Tevis. Chof Hei Kislev. Chof Hei is Kisa Kovid. The Kisa Kovid, what the Fakita, the engraving of the of Yaakov Avinu, that's Anoichi, right? Anoichi is Aleph Nun Chof Yud. Well, is Aryeh Ari Nesha Kruv and Yaakov. the chakik of Yaakov came down to Yosef. So Hashem's kisa covenant came all the way down to Yosef and to help him out, save him. Again, you have to be tuned in. You have to have the frequency to pick up those waves. You have to have those antennas. Yosef had that. How did he have it? At the end of the show, I want to end up with that. But the point is that Yosef is tested like crazy. It's the biggest Messiah in the world. You're deserted, you're neglected, you're thrown away as if who needs you? You're totally empty, nothing. And you have to fight all that. You're sending a 17. So Reuben is praised. Yehuda is not praised. What are you sending a kid to Mitzrayim? It's the worst place in the world. Okay. So Yosef, okay, I'll say this later. I'll just mention it now, but I'll come back to it. Yosef, they're carrying besamim, different perfumes and so on. Why are they telling me that? So Chazal Rashi, because usually they take oil, neft, and all that horrible smell, and now they're taking something smelly, a good odor, aroma. So we'll get back to that. So Reuven comes back, and they took a Ksonius passive, and they brought it to the father, and they say, Hacker, no, please, recognize, please. Is this the tunic that you sewed for your son? And he recognized that, and he said, that's the tunic, that's the shirt of my son. Oy vey, he was ripped into pieces. Animal went, so a wild animal ate him up. So Mikra Yaakov Shloisov, he rips his clothing, wears a sack of Mosnov, he puts on a sack, and Vaisavul Yom Ram, and he practiced Shiva, and horror, and the greatest pain in the world. No similar pain than losing a child. And remember, he had to go through that horrible pain. So after mourning, after they saw the father's mourning like crazy, mamish, out of control, they said, "Das hast du nicht gemeint. I didn't know that's going to be ad kedei kach." So and they tried to console him. They couldn't console him. He couldn't be consoled. He couldn't stop crying, and he missed his son so dearly. And then they sold him to Parisar, the city Parisar to Bochel. Okay. Now comes the story with Yehuda. Yehuda, so I want to explain something. You have the story with Boyaz, right, with Rus. It wasn't like today. There's a law that if somebody dies, his wife, and she didn't bring him children, she didn't bore him children, so his wife goes and marries his brother. That's called Yibam. And you don't have to do anything. She has a zika right away. She has a connection right away. And if you want to cut off the connection, you need chalitza. But if she's masculine, he's masculine, they're sort of engaged already, right? Like it says in the Torah. That in other words, the guy died without a kaddish, without somebody continuing his life, so to speak. So if she has a baby, so now it's going to be considered a baby for the deceased brother. Now, you have two brothers here that one didn't want to impregnate. He wanted a beautiful model, but then his brother gets this thing of Yibum. So there's Er and there's Oinan. And Oinan doesn't want, I have to have a baby, and my baby's going to go to my brother? No, I'm sorry, I didn't sign up for that. So Hashem took him away too, so you have two dead. Now you have the third brother, Shelah. Shelah, Yehuda thinks that Er and Oinan married Tamar, and they had a regular marital life, and they just didn't have babies. So the Gemara says if a lady kills husbands, After two, like three, you strike out. I'm sorry. Yudah says, I'm not taking my chance. I got one kid left. So he lost his wife, right? He lost two kids. He lost his wife. He's totally, Babish, distraught in Ganze. He's totally in Ganze, Shviras Caleb. Now he's so Ganze. So now he needs to something to console him. So that was the easy time. There's Tamar. He promised that when Shelik grows up, he'll marry me as Yibam. But he's not doing it because he's probably afraid. Because I was married lumpish, as if I was married to the first one, second one. The first one never consummated the marriage. I was never really married. There was a chuppah, but that's it. It was we never had anything to do with each other. And then the second one also garnished. So we never consummated the marriage. So I was never married to the first son and the second son. So Yuda has no idea of that. He has no idea. All she has to tell him, she don't want to besmirch. She don't want to badmouth his two sons. That's called loyalty. Maybe it's too much. You have to ask the rabbis. The point is, you see, so who Rashi says she's the daughter of Shem. Now, how did Shem have such a young daughter? But that's what Rashi says, right? So she's the daughter of Shem. She's a holy woman. She wants to marry into the family. She wants to marry into the holy family. So now she tain is that Yehuda has to do Yibum. If his son doesn't do Yibum, Shelos, then he has to do Yibum. How could he do Yibum? He's the Chamelech, Yehuda, Le'yasa Shevet Yehuda. So you can't, a Melech doesn't do Yibum. That's the exception to the rule. So the now she goes, where's the Sharvet Azov? Where's that the stick? I forgot what it's called. What the king stretches out his hand, and if you touch it, you're live. If he doesn't stretch out, take the bank is. So she tells him, "Give me the if you don't have anything to redeemable, so give me your chaysam chamatcha pshilcha." And if he gives it to her, that means he's not a king. Why is he not a king? Because the Torah says, "Va yered Yehuda meisech wins. Vayiveis meis achav, meis echov." Not achav, one echov is many. Yehuda goes down because they um, demoted him. They took him down from Malchus. You're not the Melech. You blew it. Look what you did. You brought our father, such pain. That means your decisions aren't wise decisions. I'm sorry, we can't have you as a leader. So Yudah is Ois Melech, and he's Ois Melech, he's Chiyav and Yibum. Although the father in those times before the Torah, before Matan Torah, the father was also Chiyav and Yibum. So on that smach, but Yehuda is afraid that she's going to kill him. He's never going to get close to her. So he thought, in those times the kedusha was before Matan Torah, so she seduced him, and then he finds out that she's hora leznunim. Ooh, she's pregnant. Ishnaim, she's got two coming up, twins. So he says, 1 second, if you're the daughter of Kohen, the shita that Shem was a Kohen, okay, he lost his kuna. But not him. He is a Kohen. His children lost the status of Kuna. But the point is that she's a Bas Kohen. She has to get safer, like it says the Torah. If she's Machal her father, if she desecrates her father's name, those times that was the Einish. So take her out, now she goes and says the following words. He would say, "Vi sholcha el chamia." He's taken out, and she sends to her shver. Who's the shver? Yehuda, her father-in-law. Lamer to say what? In other words, she sends somebody to say something. So what does she say? Leish ashad eleloi anochi hora. To the person that these three things belong to, I am pregnant to that person. Vatoimer, and she says again in the same pasuk. Hakirno, please recognize these are the three things. Who does this belong to? Vayakir you do, and he recognized these things, and he recognized it's truly yours. It's his. And he said, Tzodka, she's right. Mimeni. These children are for me, are from me. But another pshat of Tzodka Mimeni is Tzodka. You know why she's right? Because Mimeni, this same word Hakerno, twice in the Torah, once that Yudah tells his father Hakerno, Kesoinus ben Chimiloi is hitting him on his head in such a heavy way, right in his face. It's smacked right in his face. He gets smacked with a Hakerno that he told his father. And she says, Hakerno, Lemiachisemes vapsil mamataila. Oh, ochem vei, mida keneged mida. And he says, Tzodka, this Hakerno is many because I did it to my father. I didn't see it. I think that's I'm sure somebody's got to say it. So, um, so, listen weiter. V'lo Yosef, the end of the pasuk. Vayomer, Vayakiv, Tzodkmin, Shall Kingle Institil Shayla B'ni. That's why I didn't give it to Shayla B'ni. So therefore, she wanted to be in the family, and if I didn't give Shayla B'ni, so I had to do Yibim, sort of. V'lo Yosef oid ledata, and he never knew her again. Means he never saw her again, never had any sightings. I don't know if he saw or not saw, but ledata means he didn't have a relationship ever again. So here's the strongest part of the whole thing. It says twice, he kolcha el chami aleimer vatoimer. If she's such a tzaddikus, and she's not giving it away what happened to Yehuda, and she's giving him a remes, so why don't you, why are you telling everybody? Now, 8 billion people that learn the translation of the Bible know the story, or whatever, 9 billion, whatever it is. If you want to be discreet, so be discreet. Why are you spilling the beans? Why are you shaming Yehuda? Yehuda ends up recognizing, and he acknowledges Tzadka. Mimeni. He should, but why burn him out? Why denigrate him? What are you gaining? Why couldn't you tell it to him quietly? And the thing with the teretz is there's two people over here. There's two shlichim over here. When it comes to Toimchei Shabbos, all these programs that you don't want to you don't want to belittle a person that he's such a nebuch, he can't provide for his wife and children. So you send the box to the door. These organizations, those that buy the products and those that prepare the products and those that pack the products, that plate it, whatever, in the containers, and those that deliver don't know the person that's getting it. They take other people. Why? The dignity is the most important. So why didn't you care about Yuda's dignity? She did care. She's saying one person, she sends the Chaisems of Psilim, and she sends it to Yehuda with one shliach saying that she's pregnant to the person who's the owner of these three things. That's one shliach. Now that guy has no idea who. He just delivered. And then she's Vatoimer, she says, it's a new Vatoimer. She says, wait a this? Vatoimer in the same pasuk. Hi, it's me, yeah. You don't stop who I was. This is me. First, he tells her not that it's her. First, he tells her it's the person that, and then she shows up through a shliach, of course. So now Yehuda, the Torah gave us the story, but not that she didn't reveal this to everybody, to nobody. She did it in a way not to embarrass, to keep the dignity. And it doesn't end there. It gets much better. He could have lived with her as a wife. She was a holy person. From her comes David HaMelech. He could have lived with her because she never consummated the marriage. There was never chalos of a marriage between her and his children. And if he could have lived with, but she didn't want to tell Yehuda that she's a tzaddikus, and they did Rabbeinu Hashem, and Hashem took him away. He took the whole blame as if they died because of Chas v'Shalom, because of her. And if he thought he can't live with her anymore. He thought it was in a way derech Isser and so on. But it's not true. She was watching out for the dignity of his children, the loyalty of Toma, and then you want to question why she's the mother of David HaMelech and Mashiach. If you hide Yen's dignity, Yen's busha, you get the whole world, you get everything. You get the Olam Haba, you get Mashiach, Mashiach ben David. So now we get to Vayimoin, and we ask the Kasha, what kept him going? What kept him going? Oy vey. Again, it's 2 hours. So let me jump ahead for a second. You have the Sarah Mashkin, the Sarah Oifim. Sarah Mashkim he has a dream, and the Sarah Mashkim has a dream, and the Sarah Oifim has a dream. So he's in charge. We said a few weeks ago, there's a minister of drinks, there's a minister of pastries, baked stuff, and there's a minister of the meat, the Sarah Tabach. The Sarah Mashkim has a dream, and Yosef interprets the dream that he's going to live in 3 days. The Sarah Oifim has a dream. Okay, you can ask a question. You don't need the Sarah Oifim for the whole story, because you want to say the story with the Cholim, the next parsha, that he reminds himself that Yosef was Pois's Cholim. Good to question. Not for now. But the point is, maybe I should answer. If you don't have the Sarah Oifim, then Yosef is no big chacham. Because if the Sarah Oifim would stay alive, he would try to kill Yosef. He's the big Sar, and he's sitting in jail. He can organize in a second. Yosef was risking his life. With the Sarah Mashkin, he's not risking anything. He said it's going to be good, and let's say it's not going to be good. So Sarah Mashkim is dead, and he can't kill Yosef. But saying that you're going to die, and then he stays alive, that he's going to kill Yosef, that's risking your life. So the Torah wanted to show you that Yosef was real. He was for real. He knew what he's talking about, and he was powerful. In other words, in his interpretation. Let's get back. So you have the Sarah Mashkim that stays alive, says Yosef, and the Sarah Oifim of the pastries, he's going to die. How did Yosef know that? I heard this a mashal of Dubno Maggid from a good friend of mine, Reb Shol Yitzchak Tzeinbert, one of the most talented people I ever knew in my life. One of the smartest and talented people. Unbelievable. I'm not a Talmud Chacham, major Talmud Chacham was. Many years ago, this is decades ago, he told me this mashal from Dubno Maggid, and I'd say it over many, many, many times in his name, in Lvov. I said it many times. You have this, basically you have a king, there's a attender, who is a competition, who can draw the knives, get the Grace Award. So everybody drew this, drew that. One guy painted a beautiful, beautiful painting, and there was a person there with a basket of fruits or baked stuff, pastries on their head, and that was one of the paintings in the competition. And guess what? Everybody said he for sure won. Why? It looks so real that the birds went and jumped on top of the basket, and they try to eat from the basket, the pastries in the basket, on top of the guy's head. In other words, it's so real that even the birds with a bird's eye didn't clap that it's fake. So that's why he should for sure win. And the king comes and he arbitrates and he says, no, that guy's for sure not the winner. And what do you mean? Everybody thought this guy's the best. It really looks so authentic. And the king says, no, that's easy. If the bird wasn't birds are afraid of people, human beings. And if the birds went and to pluck the bread on the basket, that means the person there is fake, because the bird otherwise would be afraid to come on top of his head. So it's a fake thing. Yosef says, push it. if let me give you a little background. It says, "V'solo ois." Where's the finish? It says, "Vayan Yosef," right? Um, by okay, let's go back. Uh, uh, um, Here. Vayomer li Yosef zeh peshoine. Shoishes asrikim shoish dam him. Voice shoish dam in 3 days. He's paris reshecha. Pari, right? Will uplift your head. In other words, he'll make you great again. He'll give you status again. Vashivchal kenechan, and he'll return you back to your job, to your position, and you're going to give Pari to drink as before. Where it says Yiso Pari es roishecha with a shiin, a segel roishecha. By the oifim, it says Yisafar es roishecha. He'll take off your head, not rise your head, but he'll take it off. He'll knock off your head. What does Yosef allude to when he says roishecha or roishcha? Roishcha has a shva, 2 dots, and roishecha has a segel, 3 dots. The Gemara says shloisha shutzim, but there's 3 shutzim. There's the Eibishter gives the soul, the lively part, the life part, and the father mother give the body. Right? So if Hashem, Chazal, this is a famous thing that you need to be a tzaddik, or you need to be somebody that's sensitive enough to see that if somebody is going to die that month, for that month, it's like a dead duck walking around. I'm not saying walking around. The people are sensitive. I don't know who knows that, but apparently there are tzaddikim that can see that there's no life in the person. And there's many Hasidic stories that they said, I saw no life, and I embarrassed him, I gave him a ticket, or whatever I did. So for his taiva, a rabbim, a tzibur, kids said they rallied the crowd. So if Hashem takes away a month before his part in the shutfis of shloisha shutfam, 3 partners in the life of a person, so if Yosef doesn't see life, so he says Roishcha only 2 dots because Hashem took away his dot, and that was a sign that he's going to die. Same thing is by the person that drew, right, a beautiful painting, but the bird went and ate he tried to eat from the basket of pastries because the bird didn't see a sign of life in the human being on this picture, in this painting. Therefore, he was versus the Saramashkim. The Saramashkim, Yosef saw life all over him, and Yosef felt that spirit, that aura, that ziv, that shine. So Yosef said, no, I see Hashem's shine. If Hashem's shine is there, then you're all good. That brings us to I'm jumping back to it says 3 times. Let's go back, and we're going to end with this. It says, "Vayi Hashem es Yosef." Hashem was with Yosef. Vayi ish matzliach. He was ish matzliach, a successful person. Vayi v'veis Adonai v'Mitzri, and he was in his master's, the Egyptian master's house. What do you put these 3 vayis in one pasuk? Vayi, vayi, vayi. Why do you need to repeat the word vayi 3 times? Because there's 3 different things in there. Vayi Hashem. Let's first go the second 2. Vahi ish matzliach, that means you're very successful. Vahi b'veis Adonai v'Mitzri, against your will, you're a servant, a slave by the Egyptian master. It's against your will. Ish matzliach is what you want to be, and ish mitzri is exactly what you don't want to be. So there's 2 nisyonis of life. One, when a person is very successful, extremely successful, that person becomes haughty, and that person says, "Koichi v'oitz miyadi." So the Sarah Oifim says, "Koichi v'oitz miyadi." What's the Sarah Oifim say? I'm standing there, and Pari is and the eating from the pastries that I made, pastries human beings made. The Sarah Mashkin says, no, Seruga is what he says, the grapes, the vine of grapes that Hashem makes. If it's you making, then there's no long lasting for a human being. There's everybody goes to the cemetery, but if it's the natural food that Hashem has made, in other words, you're throwing it on Hashem, on the partner Hashem, that amounts to life. Okay, so over here is Vahi Ish Matzliach. You can lose everything by saying, Hashem, I don't need you. I'm very successful. I have so much money and friends and whatever. And Chabals, what does he need Hashem? She becomes holy. Says, my success was because I'm smart and I have I have a good eye and I have a good what's it called? I have creativity and the other way around, if you're a slave and you're tortured and you're neglected and you're thrown out of family and you're not protected and nobody sticks up for you, then you say, oh, after the Holocaust, he wants to leave after the Holocaust, he wants to leave Chas Shalom, right? It was the point is that after so much torture, so then you want to leave also, Hashem. But Yosef didn't leave. Why? Vayi Hashem es Yosef, because Hashem was with Yosef. We said before, it was this Akita, the engraving of Yaakov came to Hashem's Kisa Kovid himself came down to Yosef to save the day, to say, I'm with you, because Yosef, you feel me. You feel, I feel you. So what's this Vayimoyan? He said, no, I'm not doing it. Why? What gave him the strength after being neglected and thrown out and being hated by everybody? The issue over here is Hashem gives him something. Hashem gives him a good feeling. And what's the good feeling? The good feeling is, let me say a little story and I'll explain. Yaakov Avinu is told that his son died. And Yaakov Aimoin Lisnachem, no, I can't get over it. I can't make peace with this piece of information. I don't agree to it. It can't be. I'm not accepting it. My son, he cried 22 years. He can never get over it. Usually you forget about it. No, but Yaakov says every second, there's something, but if it's alive, you should no, this is something else. I put in all my koiches into this kid. I loved his mother. I lost his mother. I lost him. I can't. This is my continuation. I feel it in my bones that it's my continuation. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the whole program. I mean, I'm supposed to give it over to Yosef to Moshe Rabbeinu. What's going on? There's something doesn't add up over here, and he feels like he lost his Ruach HaKodesh. If he doesn't have Ruach HaKodesh, how can he go to his son? That's why we're saying the Chakika and the Kisa covered itself. Yaakov is Vaimoin Lesnachim. What is he saying? Yaakov says, I can't leave go of my son. I'm holding on to it. I'm not leaving go for a second. He's living with me as he did before, not physically, but emotionally. He's living with me spiritually. His nitzchis is with me. I'm not leaving go for 1 second. I'm not having it. No, there's no way. I'm not masking. I'm not. I demand. He's with me, and he's holding on to him for life, for dear life. So everybody knows the story, but I want to remind you. There's a father. There was a father that had a few kids. Tell me the chachamim and great leaders in the Jewish community. I forgot his name. Everybody knows his name. And he was asked, "What kept you? What kept you?" And he had a very hard life, and he lost everything. So he said that his father found out there's this kinder, they sent by train this kinder group, this kinder to London, wherever it was in England, to save, at least save the Shadis Plate, the children, the future. So they chose that his father got in his son. Now picking which son should go is a brach because last week Yaakov has to do Eider Levadoi and Verevach Tasimu. Which member of the family do you put into the first group, the one that's going to get killed, and the other one who shares it later? That's the question people will face in the Holocaust all the time. I mean, the most difficult question in the world by far. The question that nobody has an answer. The question is that in this world you'll never get. Well, nobody will ever get. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't get. And Yenevelt, yeah, but we're not rushing to Yenevelt. So the pain over here, and the father has to pick out this child I'm sending to London to save. What about the rest? Garnished. So he sends him and it was very, very painful. And the father walks the kid to the train and he speaks with, what should he tell a kid? What do you tell a kid? So he walks onto the train with him and he packs it, he puts his bag, and he's about to tell him goodbye and he has to get off the train. Let's go, let's go. So he tells the kid, he gives the kid a kiss on his forehead and he says, Zaya Gutiyid, I beg you, Zaya Gutiyid, be a good Jew, be a loyal Jew, be a dedicated Jew, be a blessing. Continue the fight of Avram Yitzchak, the fight for life of Avram Yitzchak V'Yaakov. Protect my palace, protect my bira, protect my neshamas that I send on this world, not only your own, but everybody's. Don't be a shuster. Be a winner. Be a beneficial person. Be a person that people can't do without you. Be somebody that you walk into the room and you make people happy, not, oh, he came, she came. Make it easier for people. Make it pleasant. Be loyal to your mission. So the father begs him, Zaygutiyit. And he's crying. His father's crying. And his father's holding onto his hand. He can't even let go. Zaygutiyit, Zaygutiyit. And they throw him off the train. So the window's open. He bangs on the window and he screams and he screams and the train starts moving and he's starting to walk and he says, I forgot his name, Zaygutiyit, Zaygutiyit. And then the train starts moving quicker and it picks up pace and he starts to run and he screams. And his son is looking out the window and watching him. And he screams, Zaygutiyid. And he ran so fast, he lost control. He tumbled over. His face was bloody. And he's lying on the floor and he can't move and he's screaming with his last breath, Zaygutiyid, Zaygutiyid. And that was the last time he ever saw his father or any other member of his family. His father screamed, Vaimoin Lenachem, Lisnachem. His father screamed, Yaakov, Vaimoin Lisnachem. So Yosef says, Vaimoin, I feel the connection. He felt Vayhi Hashem as Yosef. He felt Hashem. You have to open your ears and eyes and your neshama, and you'll get the frequency, and you'll see that Hashem is with you. So I shlucha mitzvah in the zoikim. It wasn't Nezoikim. Hashem was with him all the time, and he was Matzliach. When Yosef gets the message from Yaakov, Zayagotiyid, Hashem says, Bikash Yaakov Leshev. No, I need a Vaimoin Lisnachem. I need a Zayagotiyid. And he surpassed any expectations of Zayagotiyid. And he has generations of Gedolei Yisrael, of Manhiga Yisrael, from that one Yid, Moshe Yid, that with the ganze heart, he screamed by Moin Lisnachem, I'm not giving up. And he took a little kid, and the kid went through such pain, but he said, how can I let my father down? I can't let my father down. And he blossomed, and he bloomed, and he protected and saved Hashem's Bira. Thank you very much.